Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 28th, and right now we are looking at the Doppler radar here for western Washington. You can see the northwesterly flow here moving down across the Strait of Georgia, meeting up with some northeasterly winds to the Fraser River Gap here, picking up some moisture across the Puget Sound here, depositing it near the Olympic Peninsula here, areas near Port Angeles, Port Townsend, bringing it across the Seattle Metro as well. Now watch this, folks. We're going to zoom in here and look at this. We got multiple lightning strikes down here towards Federal Way, south of Des Moines, Washington here in some of these showers moving across the area. You got to love these microclimates here across the Pacific Northwest. We get these surprise thunderstorms at times, especially when you bring some convergent zone activity across the region. Very nice there. So taking a wider look at things here, you can see this cold air extending all the way down through Oregon and California now. Cumuliform clouds moving onshore here. Some light snow for eastern Washington and Oregon as we speak. But what everybody wants to know about is this storm system coming in here on Wednesday, and here it goes. It's developing across western Alaska as scheduled. It's going to move across the Gulf of Alaska, take up residence here off the coast of Vancouver Island here, and what everybody wants to know about: how much snow am I going to get? When's it going to change over to rain? And what kind of potential do we have for snow as we go on in through the extended? We'll take a look at all that here in a moment. And a little bit closer look here, you can see this convergent zone activity moving down the region that brought the thunderstorm down here near Federal Way, south of Des Moines, Washington here this morning. So nice visible satellite imagery as the sun rises across the GOES 17 satellite imagery there. Now you can see here the northwest flow down the Strait of Georgia here, and you can see the gusty northeasterly winds coming out across Bellingham here, gusting over 30 miles per hour. And now that'll continue on through today, ushering some colder air into the region here, and that's going to be beneficial to starting things off as snowfall as we go through the day tomorrow. More on that here in a moment. You can see the winter storm warnings across the Cascades of Washington, Oregon. Wind advisory here for northwest Washington across San Juan County. Winter weather advisories elsewhere across the region. And taking a look at this a little bit closer, 20 to 30 miles per hour, gusts to 45 are possible. San Juan, Whatcom County there through this evening. So now here we're looking at the current pressure map, the European. You can see the residual troughing over the Pacific Northwest, which is typical with this kind of synoptic setup where we have some colder Arctic air across British Columbia trying to seep down into western Washington. You can see that slide south and east during the day today. That cool air will move in, setting the stage for this next system to start a snowfall across much of western Washington, southwest BC as we go on in through Tuesday afternoon and evening. Then there'll be a messy transition here across portions, mainly Seattle north, where it could be some heavy wet snow falling across the region too. Check out the snow totals here in a moment. As you can see, the storm kind of remain up towards Vancouver Island here through Wednesday afternoon. Now taking a look here, accumulated 10-meter max wind gusts here on the HUR, 3 kilometers. You see the 40+ mile per hour winds possible up here for the Fraser River Gap as we go through the day today. And we speed ahead on in through Tuesday now. And by Tuesday night, we start to get some strong southeasterly winds out ahead of this next system up the Strait of Georgia here through the Strait of Juan de Fuca, San Juan's here. Some strong southerlies start to move in here Tuesday night across some of the southern Puget Sound as well, especially along the shores of the Puget Sound. The HUR is painting some pretty good gusts. Also strong winds across the Oregon coast as this frontal system moves south on the morning Wednesday, and some strong winds for southwest Washington as well. And of course, the higher terrain. Now taking a look here, the NAM 3KM, you can see the shower activity move across the region. Still some good snowfall falling across some of the Washington Cascades and Oregon Cascades today, moving through eastern Washington and Oregon. And then the showers start to move out of the region here, and we set the stage for the next system here across western Washington as it starts to snowfall for many areas except extreme southwest Washington, Oregon coast, Portland probably just going to be all rain. But you can quickly see that rain moves into the Puget Sound here. I don't know if the NAM is overdoing this or not, but you can see the cutoff is sharp there right south Seattle as we go on through Tuesday afternoon, but remains snow as we go on into early Wednesday morning across much of the area, Seattle north. Now, how is it overdoing the scouring of this cold air? It's possible. The European is showing something similar though as well, but some pretty heavy snow showing up in the models that we'll look at here in a second. Seattle north through Everett and Marysville out towards the Kitsap and Olympic Peninsula here. Now, let's take a look at the snow totals here the NAM is showing. You can see it does accumulate for a while here in Seattle. And again, the heavier snowfall north of Seattle for southwest BC here. Big snowfalls in the mountains here. You can see the Olympics, Vancouver Island, BC, northeast Washington, Oregon. Some really nice snowfall out of this event. This is through Wednesday afternoon at this point. So you can kind of see it's a little bit hit and miss here across some of western Washington. Take a look at the European now. Total snow Kuchera. This takes into account the lower atmosphere temperature, so it's not just a blind 10-to-1 ratio. But you can see as we go into Wednesday morning here, look at some of these totals here. Seattle north towards Everett, Marysville, out towards Whidbey Island here. It's going to be pretty marginal on the temperatures here, especially close to the Puget Sound. But it could be a good snowfall event up here for southwest BC as well, especially with any kind of improvement in your elevation here. The higher you go, the better your odds of getting snowfall. But you can see that sharp cutoff here as we move south out of Seattle. Big snowfalls again for the higher terrain. Goes without saying at this point, all the way down through the Siskiyous here as we go through Thursday afternoon. Now taking a look here, this is the NAM 3KM, the wind speeds. You see the Fraser River Gap winds bringing that cold air out across western Washington, leaving it in place, setting the stage for Tuesday late morning, early afternoon. And the southeast winds really start to get going here as we go through Tuesday afternoon across the area. And you notice they start to turn southerly here across the Puget Sound as we go early into Wednesday morning. And that's when the NAM thinks the transition is going to occur from snow to rain across much of the area here. Again, holding on a little bit longer the further north you go, probably here as we go on in through late Wednesday morning. You can see the frontal system sliding south across Oregon here on in through Wednesday morning. Now taking a look here, we're looking at European dew point temperatures here. So you can see the air mass dry out and cool off a bit here as we go on in through tonight and tomorrow morning. Single digit dew points up here for some of the northwest, interior, southwest BC. But we do cool off across western Washington here. And then as the next system starts to move in here late Tuesday morning, early afternoon, we're going to start that out of snowfalls. We get the evaporative cooling across the area here on in through Tuesday afternoon. You can see the moistening of the air mass here, but it still remains below freezing as we go into Tuesday evening and night here. By Tuesday morning here, you notice this warm air start to surge up the Puget Sound, probably changing most areas over to rain by later Wednesday morning, maybe becoming some cooler, drier air remaining trapped up here for southwest BC as we go through Wednesday late morning there. As you can see, the frontal system sags south across Oregon. Now looking at this warm front diagram, I've shown this the last 2 days. I got a lot of good comments from it. You can see, you can imagine Portland being down here. Then you got Seattle, Everett, Bellingham, southwest BC. So the farther north you go, the colder the air mass generally is going to be. But at the same time, we've got some southeast winds that could bank some of this cold air up against the Olympic Mountains. If you imagine this getting pushed off to the west into the Olympic Mountains. And then we're going to have this southerly wind start to really try to scour this cold air out of here. And we don't have any reinforcing cold air with this setup coming. That low is too far north to drag more cold air out in the wake of it. And by the time it moves south, it's weakening pretty well and does not have the strength to bring out more Arctic air from British Columbia into western Washington or southwest BC at that point. Now here we're looking at 18,000 feet, 500 millibars. The Europeans on the left, GFS on the right. Yesterday afternoon's run put this into motion. There goes that initial stage of cold air across the region here. Then you can see the polar lobe that we're currently dealing with Tuesday and Wednesday. It's going to set up shop here off Vancouver Island there. It kind of gets elongated and stretched a bit here. Not a powerful Arctic lobe of air that's going to move across and bring a dynamic storm down through Seattle or Portland. At least not a reinforcing shot of cold air with it there. But then another polar lobe moves off of southeast Alaska, but it spends a lot of time out over the ocean there again. So probably going to be hard to get snow down to the surface here west of the Cascades with that setup here. We'll watch that closely though. It's a lot of cold air moving around there. And another good shot of snow to the mountains, if nothing else. And then you can see another polar lobe kind of moves a little further east here on the GFS, but you can see not too bad looking there in the European, but we're 200 hours out. We'll just continue to watch that, just kind of showing you that we are going to be flirting with some colder air as we move on in through the following week, probably. Now taking a look here, 850 millibars, 5,000 feet. You can see the good bet that we've been talking about, that cold air banking up in the interior of BC. But you can see the problem here really with this system and why we're not going to get a reinforcing shot of cold air is because this cold air spills out too early. Cyclogenesis takes place here, spreads back in, but it picks up a lot of warmth off the Pacific Ocean here, and it's going to make some warm air come back up to the Puget Sound and change that to rain by the time we go to about noon on Tuesday like we talked about. But you can see the Arctic air kind of hangs around BC here again, and then the European through the extended brings another shot down there with a little bit better trajectory here. So it's something to watch as we go on in through the extended here, but again, just fantasy at this point. Now taking a look at Bellingham, you can see the ensemble members here, 1 through 50, all showing some kind of snowfall for Bellingham as we go through Tuesday on in through Wednesday morning. But this is 10-to-1 ratio, so you can probably chop a couple inches off that just off the start here. Heavy wet snowfall potential as we go on in through Tuesday morning. Same thing for Snohomish County, Payne Field, Everett here. You can see you can probably chop that in half. but it could be disruptive while it falls. You know, just a few hours of temperatures at 30 or 31 can be pretty disruptive for the commute all the way down towards sea level here as we go on in through early Wednesday morning. Now, looking at the UW GFS model here, you'll see some similarities here between the NAM and the European, with that snow band setting up north of Seattle towards Everett and Marysville here, possibly some cold air banking up against the Olympics here, and you can see some cooler air the further you go north here across southwest BC towards Vancouver Island as well, but still some hit and miss areas up here, up towards Arlington, and as you get up towards Bellingham as well. But big mountain snows coming up here, folks. Now you can see one more look at the European. We looked at this already, but I want to show you the similarities between the UW GFS, since we just looked at it, with that heavy band of snowfall forming north of Seattle here. Heavy wet stuff here. You start getting that kind of amount, so you can start breaking tree branches and stuff too, with the snow accumulating on that. Again, probably not as effective as an accumulator on the streets though as we go, because there's going to be no reinforcing shot of cold air. But look at some of the amounts to the mountains here. These are 24-hour running totals, up over 2 feet for some of the higher terrain here across the Washington Cascades, Olympic Mountains up through BC. So nice storm. So checking out California really quick here. Frontal system drops down again on target as we go through later this week. Much needed precipitation across California there. Looking at Friday morning here. And we're going to go all the way out here. This is total precipitation for the next 10 days across California. Tough to get these storm systems down here in California in some of these La Nina years. So this is very beneficial. Like some of the coastal areas getting up over half a foot here, all the way down towards Los Angeles. And this is looking at the west. This is the next 10 days. Look at some of the snowfall amounts, just pegged off scale here, all the way down through the Sierra Nevadas, Cascades of Oregon, Washington here, getting some really nice snowfall amounts. So building up a nice snowpack here early in the winter here through early December. So 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, shown here. You can see we're going to be flirting with that cold air here as we go through early December here across Pacific Northwest. This is 3 to 4 week temperature outlook, so this goes through December 23rd here. And again, kind of a below average signal here across Pacific Northwest, above average signal for precipitation. Take that with a grain of salt, of course, but we'll go through the stuff as we go day by day on into the future here. So yeah, enjoy this system coming up, folks. It's going to look nice while it initially starts, and you might get some nice accumulations no matter where you are in Western Washington, except for extreme Southwest and Portland, probably going to start as rain though. But big snowmaker coming up here through the weekend, and we're going to flirt with some more cold air. We'll continue to watch these systems and the evolution of how these polar lobes interact with the Pacific Northwest. Here goes Wednesday's system here, Wednesday system, I should call it, as it moves across Western Alaska and the Gulf of Alaska towards Pacific Northwest here. So fun time here in the winter. You know, it's always fun seeing snowfall, at least for most people anyway. I know some people don't like it. It can be pretty disruptive here. But again, we'll go over this tomorrow morning. I'm also going to be live streaming tomorrow, do some Q&As while I'm out in the field. I'll try to find a snowy area and set up shop here, or maybe I'll go see some of the big winds that are coming up towards the interior of the Northwest, Washington State here on in through tomorrow morning. So anyway, thanks for all my new members. Thanks for all my new subscribers. We're approaching 14,000 people here quite rapidly. So you guys make this channel possible. We'll do this again tomorrow. I'll be talking to you during the day tomorrow as well. So tune in for the live stream as I do it. And I will talk to you guys then.